Welcome to the ultimate guide for new wolf dog owners, brought to you by Tony Nyla, the pioneering expert in wolf dog behavior and management. If you're about to embark on the incredible journey of raising a wolf dog puppy, you need the best guidance to ensure a harmonious start. Raising a wolf dog puppy is a unique experience that goes beyond traditional dog ownership. These animals are intelligent, independent, and require an understanding that blends both their wild instincts and domestic nature. That's where Tony's program comes in. Tony Nyla's revolutionary approach focuses on nurturing your wolf dog's cognitive abilities. This isn't about controlling behavior with treats or tools. Instead, it's about empowering your wolf dog to make intelligent decisions in a human environment, fostering a deeper bond between you and your new companion. Tony's program is designed specifically for wolf dog puppies in their first year of life, a critical period where proper guidance can shape their entire future. We will help you avoid the common pitfalls that can lead to behavioral issues later on. You'll gain access to Tony's expertise through live Zoom sessions. These sessions are tailored to your wolf dog's individual needs, ensuring you're fully equipped to handle the challenges and joys of wolf dog ownership. Don't wait until challenges arise. Start your wolf dog's training with the expert who understands them best. Schedule your consultation today at wolfdogbehaviorist.com and give your wolf dog the best start in life. Join the growing community of wolf dog owners who trust Tony Nyla to guide them every step of the way. Your wolf dog's future begins now.
But let's go ahead and kind of go into walking them, right? So, and then we'll kind of revisit the whole feeding ritual at that point. So a lot of the times, now this is not going to matter for you guys as much because you guys have puppies and your puppies when your puppies eliminate their bladder, they're going to eliminate it into completion. They're going to just empty out their bladder. They're not going to have any reserves for doing little spritz here and spritz there. But one of the things is, and this has just happened when I was doing my research with a lot of wolf dog people that needed help, is I would always kind of lure them into a trick. I would say, when you walk your wolf dog, you guys make sure that he has plenty of opportunity times to potty and poop, right? That's the setup. And then they go, oh, yes, absolutely. I'm like, oh, good. How many opportunities does he have to go to the bathroom when he's on a walk? Like, how many times does he pee? Or does she pee? And a lot of the times the clients will go, oh, at least 4 or 5 times. And that's how I go, oh, that's not good. That's bad. Why? Because to you, it's a walk. To them, that's territorial mapping. That's a completely different perception than what you think it is, or what they think you are, the whole point of why you're taking them out to begin with. So when I ask people, what is a walk to you? Why do you walk your dog or your wolf dog? The common answer I get is either potty breaks, but the more common answer I get is for physical exercise. So if you physically exercise your wolf dog by walking them, then the next question is how long is that walk for then? And most people go, oh, it's a good walk. It's about 45 minutes, maybe an hour, maybe 35 minutes, anywhere between 35 and 45 minutes. That's not exercise. You have a wolf dog. That wolf dog can go for another 8 miles, no problem. You are just teasing them. So if you'll never watch Animal Planet or National Geographic and hear the narrators say, as the African wild dogs are getting their cardio in, now they're going to go back home and barbecue. You're never going to hear that. Canids migrate, and that does transform into health, and as far as their exercise goes, they're not physically exercising, but it does improve health because it's just a byproduct of them migrating. But what is the sole purpose of the migration to begin with? They only do this for 2 reasons. There's only 2 reasons why they're going to migrate. One of them is territorial mapping. Getting to know their territory, like in Tolman's maze, a cognitive understanding of their surroundings. It's not necessarily a dominance thing, like I control this area. It's almost like a Hansel and Gretel thing where they leave the breadcrumbs behind to figure out where they were at last. or how to have the landmarks of knowing how to get back to their pack. It's not always a dominant kind of a thing. But what happens though is when you're walking your wolf dog and then you come home and you just put them back in their enclosure in the yard and go, okay, we're home, you leave that walk incomplete to their mind. And then they have to make sense of why we did what we just did if we're just coming back home. I want to kind of give you an example of what that's like. Let's say you're watching a Netflix special, and when you're watching Netflix special, your favorite character falls off the cliff. Ah! And then that big old caption says, "To be continued." And you're like, oh man, all right, well, I'm going to tune in next week to find out what happens to my character. They can't die. They're one of the main characters. We're only in the first season. And then when you try to tune in next week, your show's not on. And then it dawns on you, oh no, that was the season finale. I'm not going to know what happens to my character until next summer. Oh, that is just ending on a cliffhanger. I hate that. That's what happens when you're walking with your wolf dog and you come home and you just come home. When you walk with your wolf dog, there has to be a completion to that walk. And can you guys guess what that completion is? Resources. You led them to food and water. Now the walk is complete. If there's no food and water at the end of the walk, then what was the point of why we were walking? It was our rounds. It was our security rounds. We're territorial mapping. And we don't want our wolf dogs to misinterpret that walk. So we always feed after the walk so it's completed. Now, that being said, let's revisit the whole empty food bowl that I had you guys put away. Every time you guys are gonna feed your dog, they have to go for a walk first. But before you go for a walk, you're gonna take that empty bowl and you're gonna place it right on top of your crate, on the roof of the crate. It's empty. And you're gonna do that about 5 to 10 minutes before your walk. At first, your wolf dog, your puppy is not gonna care. But over time, they're gonna build an association. Mom just put an empty bowl on top of the crate. That means we're about to go for a walk. It also means that when we get back, I'm gonna eat. And now what you do is you create some predictability for them, right? Which is important. If you have a young wolf dog puppy, especially one that's insecure, and you don't give them some way of connecting the dots and understanding the predictability of what's about to happen, they may be so unsure and insecure. I don't want a territorial map with you. I'm just a baby. And you'll start to see the insecurities come in because you're taking them on a ride that they wouldn't normally even be nurtured to do until they got older as wolf dogs or as wolves in the wild. The puppies don't go migrating with the rest of the pack when they're territorial mapping. That doesn't happen until they get a little bit older and they start to expand their territory more. So then you just kind of cause a mess up with your puppy, and again, it kind of ruins the bond and they don't trust you as well. So you have the empty bowl on top of the crate. Perfect. Now, when you take your puppy out, there's certain rules. When you take your puppy out, especially in your neighborhood for the very first 2 weeks of your puppy's life, we're not taking them off of home territory. We're just doing potty breaks. That's all that you're doing. Remember earlier when I said that we had to teach the puppies things that the mother didn't get to teach the puppy, especially if you got your wolf dog early from the breeder? Well, the puppies needed to learn their boundary of their territory, which the mother only allows them 30 seconds away from the den. You're gonna do the same thing. When your puppy is in your front yard and you're about to go for a walk, you don't walk until they mark, till they pee. When you just kind of move around, you always stay in motion. Don't just stand there and go, waiting for you to pee, because they're just gonna look at you and go, what are we waiting for? So you wanna kind of move around in that yard, and your puppy will pee and your puppy will poop. Then you can start to walk them within 30 seconds of your home. So choose a direction and walk 30 seconds that way, or choose another direction and walk 30 seconds that way. Often people will say, oh, but I mean, 30-second walk is nothing. I mean, that doesn't help. I didn't say a 30-second walk. You can be out there for 2 hours if you want to. I just don't want you more than 30 seconds away from the home. Because the puppy needs to always learn how to run home and where home is. Also, what ends up happening is if your wolf dog does get out, you'll find that they're less likely to leave the neighborhood because you didn't teach them how to do that. They're going to stay within their understanding of their territory. And that's where most people are pleasantly surprised that if their wolf dogs get out, they're still in the neighborhood. We don't want that to happen to begin with, but we do want to go ahead and start setting up a ritual and get ahead of that behavior if we can. Okay. Now, when you do walk with your puppy, always stay in motion. You never, ever stop. If you're walking and your neighbor says, oh my gosh, let me meet the puppy, I'll bring him over later, you keep moving. Your puppy needs to know that you're on a mission. You have a point of what you're doing. And that puppy starts to bond with you and follow you around, just like how they would follow their mother around. And you're leading them back to their resource. So that's all very important. Okay, now when you get back home, what are you going to do? Remember how I said there was an empty bowl on top of that crate, right? Well, when your puppy comes home, you're not going to just let your puppy off the leash. You're going to lead them to the crate. And when you lead them to the crate, that empty bowl that was on top of the crate is no longer there. It's actually in the crate, pushed to the far rear end of the crate as possible. I know earlier I said there was a snap fit on the door. We're not using that right now. It's just there set up for the future. But that bowl is now full of food pushed to the far rear end of that crate as possible. And you're just going to let your puppy off. You're going to point to the crate and you're going to say this phrase exactly. Get back. It's very conversational. Don't say it like a dog training command. Get back. It's just conversational. Get back. You point to the crate.
We're heading back to the house. She is desperate to get back because she knows there's food. Ever since the bowl gets put on top of the crate, she becomes very restless and all she wants to do is to get food. Go back.
The next step is going to be the hardest step. I don't know why so many clients have a problem with this, but walk away, leave, you're done. Don't stand there to see whether your puppy's going to do it or not. If your puppy doesn't do it, don't say, don't you want to go back to your crate? Don't do any of that. You pointed to the crate, the puppy was there, and you said, get back. Your puppy should see the food and be like, oh my gosh, there's food. And your puppy's not going to know what get back means anyway. Also, what tends to happen is a lot of times my clients go, oh, well, I want to teach them to go to their crate. Can I just use the word crate? That means you're still stuck thinking we're dog training. We're not dog training, and we don't need to train the puppy to do anything. That puppy doesn't know what get back means, and that puppy is just going in the crate to eat. But it's doing something that it already knows how to do. It already knows how to go in something and eat. It'll do it naturally. What we're doing is we're taking advantage of the action that they already know how to do that doesn't need to be trained, and we're just creating a word association to that action. And really what get back simply means, or it's going to mean as we progress, is get out of my space. That's all it's gonna mean. Eventually it'll turn into get back from the cat, get back to your mom, get back to the car, get back home. But essentially it's gonna be get out of my space. And because the puppy's already going into the crate, it is actually going into their own space. That's the only reason why I'm having you say get back. That word will have meaning later. Whatever you do, don't get treats and throw a treat in there, or don't try to use a treat to teach what get back means, because it won't have any context. You'll ruin the context as now you're making it about the reward. And they don't know, it won't latently carry over to the real world. It's just gonna be a conditioned response you just created. But there won't be any context behind it. And we need to raise intelligence, that's very important. Also, see what else I was gonna say. Okay, so the one other important thing that I wanted to mention is your puppy cannot see how that process happened. Meaning that they didn't see you put the food in there. That has to be somehow covert. As far as they're concerned, Elf on the Shelf did that. Because you're creating a bond through this ritualistic behavior, and then all of a sudden you become the Pez dispenser, and it's about the food again. So you're leading them to the resource. You're not providing them the resource. You're not the resource yourself. Otherwise, it causes some major behavioral issues in the future. So that's going to require some ingenuity or creativity on your part. Either you can leave your spouse behind or your kid behind briefly. So when you're outside waiting, they can run back in and do that setup for you. Or, I don't know, put your puppy in the car real quick or in the garage real quick and you double back yourself. But the point is they can't see that process. So that is very, very important. So you got to make sure that you do that. Okay. All right, moving on. Now, one of the other things is that you guys are going to have to also teach your puppies personal space, especially if the mother hadn't had an opportunity to teach that. So the way you're going to teach personal space is that anytime you see your, by the way, don't do any of this stuff until your puppy's been with you for 72 hours. We don't want to start training right, or doing these rituals right away. 72 hours, get your puppy their bearings in their new environment. But once your puppy's comfortable, this is when we're going to start doing a lot of this stuff. So when your puppy starts to invade your space, which isn't like an invasion of space, they want to come to you. They're walking towards you. You might see your puppy across the room going, Mom, and here comes your puppy. When your puppy's coming into your space, I want you to say the phrase, which we just went over, in a very neutral, natural tone, get back. It's got to be conversational. Don't be militant about it. Get back. When you say get back, just so you know, your puppy's not going to know what that means. They're just going to come into your space. I need you to pause for 3 seconds because later on they're going to need time to process. And after the 3 seconds, 1, 2, 3, a second time, get back. Your puppy's still not going to know what that means. Wait another 3 seconds. 1, 2, 3, and then your second phrase you're going to say is get back outside. And you're going to put your puppy outside. For most puppies, that might be a reward. They're going to be like, yay, I want to be outside. So a lot of times people go, well, my puppy's not going to perceive that as a punishment. We don't punish in this program. It's not about a punishment. It's about removing them from your space. You said get back. They're in your space. So you're just going to have to manage that. But what happens over time is you're going to let your puppy back in. Now, when you let your puppy back in, it's very important that you follow this other rule I'm going to mention. Do not leave your puppy out there for more than 2 minutes. I mean, you can let your puppy in whenever you want to. It could be 30 seconds later if you want to, but don't let it go over 2 minutes because they're going to lose associations. You want to let them in right away. And when you open the sliding glass door to let your puppy in, you're going to say a different phrase. Once again, we're nurturing a word association. As they're coming in, you're going to say, come over here. One, it's an action. They already know what they're doing. You're not teaching them to come over to you. They want to come in the house with you. You're just taking advantage of the action that they're doing and you're tying a word association to it. You don't need to teach it with treats. It's the same way some professionals teach potty training. If your dog is outside and you want to teach your dog to potty in command, all you have to do when the dog's outside, when you can tell they're going to go potty, is go potty, pee-pee, poo-poo, hurry up, potty, potty, potty. And then when they do, you go, yay, you potty, that was so good. And then your dog's like, yeah, okay, I like doing that. Over time, they start to understand the word association. So if you were to go to a cafe that has an outdoor patio for dogs, and you decide, oh, before I bring my dog in there, my wolf dog in there, I'm going to have them go potty in the parking lot, and you say, go potty, hurry up, pee-pee, poo-poo, they're going to all of a sudden understand that association, go, oh, yeah, I know what you want. We do this at home, and they're going to do that. But what happens is this, is if that you have your puppy in the yard and you're saying, go potty, go poo-poo, go pee, and they do, and then you say, cookie, you just ruined all of that context, that understanding, and you made it about this. You made it about the reward. And then sometimes if they come into the house after they poop and pee and you let them in the house and you give them the treat in the house, you're rewarding for coming in the house. It has nothing to do with the potty training process. So we want to stay away from food or any form of training while we're in this program, because it'll be counterproductive to what we're actually trying to raise, which is a autonomous dog that can think for itself. Okay, so you said come over here. Notice I didn't say come, heel. A lot of times people say, well, I thought trainers use one syllable words. Come, sit, stay, down, heel. That's because that's old research. That's old stuff. Current research has already taught us that some dogs can recognize a vocabulary of anywhere from 250 to 500 words. That's more than some adults that I might know. They do understand conversation, but you don't want to dumbify the language for them because you think that they can't intellectually keep up with you. So I use full sentences. Come over here, get back from the cat, get back to the house. I don't use control commands. Sit, don't move, heel, down, stand, heel again, go under my legs. I don't do any of those things. All of my relationships with my dogs are conversational. A lot of times people say, well, what if I need my dog to sit? And I'll say, well, what are you asking your dog to sit for? Well, if I open the door, I don't want him to rush out the door, so I'll say sit first. Okay, that's exhausting. I don't want to always have to tell my dog to sit because I think my dog should just never go out the door. He should already know that. But if one of my wolf dogs did look like he was going to go out the door, I would just simply say, hey, back away from the door, get back over here. And my wolf dog would be like, oh, all right. And he would come back. I don't have to train him to sit in front of the door and then release him. I want my dog to be able to think for himself, and I don't want to have to teach it to my dog. I just want to say, hey, stop doing that. And my dog will go, oh, okay, sorry. And I want that symbiotic relationship. So moving on, once you let your puppy back in, after you said get back, after 2 minutes, just so you know, your puppy is just going to invade your space all over again because they're just happy to see you. And you're just going to repeat the process for another 2 minutes. And this is called the behavioral loop. And you're going to want to do this behavioral loop 5 times before I tell you to do something different. But let me give you an example, a funny, comical example, actually, of a behavioral loop that I did in the past. So a couple of years ago, I had a client or potential client, it was just a consultation at that point, contact me and said, hey, I really need your help, but you have to actually come to the house. I mean, most people know me for doing Zoom calls because I help people all around the country. And because I'm not actually training, it doesn't really require training, I can help people anywhere. But this one specific person said, hey, you need to come to the house. And I said, well, why, what's going on? And they said, my dog is humping my guest's legs. And at first I thought it was a prank call. And I was like, oh, okay, how long? Like, how long did he do it for? And the person said, oh, the whole time. He doesn't stop. And I said, okay, so if your guest was there for 2 hours, he would be doing it the full 2 hours? And he goes, yeah, that's exactly what he would do until they leave. And I thought, this has got to be a joke. But I agreed, and I said, okay, let's set up a consultation. And I did go to their house. And when I got to their house, they had a black lab named Shadow, and they had him in a crate. And I sat on the couch, and we just kind of got the formalities out of the way. And I said, all right, well, let's let Shadow out and kind of see what he does. And they go, okay. So they open up the crate, and Shadow just came barreling over to me. And I kind of put my hand out because I thought he'd sniff my hand first. He didn't even sniff my hand. He literally moved my hand. He didn't even make eye contact with me. And just went straight for my leg. It was quite romantic. He was just going to town. And I went, whoa, okay, he's really doing that. And they go, yeah. And I says, all right, well, let's go ahead and put him back. So then the guy goes, okay, Shadow, get off. And he put Shadow back in the crate. About maybe, not even 30 seconds into that, I said, can you let Shadow out one more time? I'm looking for something specific. And he went, yeah, sure. So he opened up the crate. Nothing changed. Shadow just went right up to my leg. And everybody chuckled and laughed. And I said, okay, you can put him back. And he went, all right, Shadow, go back. And he put Shadow back in the crate. Later on, we had as we were going through the conversation, about maybe a minute went by. And I said, can you let Shadow out one more time? I am looking for something specific, and I want to see if he offers it. And the gentleman said, nothing's going to change. He's just going to do the same exact thing he did before. And I said, I understand that. I just have to experience it for myself. I hope you understand. And they go, oh, yeah, okay, sure. Open up the crate. It's exactly what he said that he was going to do. He just went straight for my leg and was going to town. It was just really crazy to see it, to experience. And I said, yeah, you're not lying. Okay, let's go ahead and put Shadow back. And they did. They put Shadow back. About maybe 2 minutes further into the conversation, and remember I was saying, don't do this for over 2 minutes. About 2 minutes into the conversation, I said, okay, I do need to continue letting him do this because I am looking for a specific change to happen. And the gentleman says, okay. And the wife's there saying, I think Tony is enjoying this. And I'm like, no, I'm looking for something specific. But they let Shadow out and he went straight to my leg, no different than he had before. But when the gentleman stood up out of his chair, his dog ran. And the guy goes, that little booger, did you see that? He knows. And I say, hold on, stop. I said, that's the change I'm looking for. And I said, have you ever heard Einstein's definition of insanity? Einstein said that the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over and expecting a different result. Well, his dog Shadow obviously connected the dots and ran. Probably assumed he was gonna go be put back in this crate. Now, I'm not telling you to put your puppies in the crate. I'm just telling you to have them leave your space and put them outside. It was funny, and I said, okay, go ahead and let's go get Shadow. I know he ran from me, and let's put him back in the crate. And they did. And then 2 minutes after that, I said, let Shadow back out. And when they did, it was very comical, according to everybody in the house. But when they did, he was going like he was walking up to me. He actually looked up at me and made eye contact with me. But the nonverbal message I got, and everybody could clearly see in the house, was, I hate you. And he left and lay down over by the couch. And everybody was laughing and they said, oh my gosh, that's the first time he's ever stopped. And it's called a behavioral loop. So that's kind of what I'm trying to describe to you guys. If your puppy's coming over to you, say, get back, wait 3 seconds, get back, wait 3 seconds, get back outside, let them back in with come over here after 2 minutes, and do that for a behavioral loop of 5 repetitions. Now, if you get to 5 repetitions, which normally doesn't happen, they normally change their behavior before that. But if they do get to 5 repetitions, it's because they just are not thinking straight. They're just purely reactive right now. And that is the only time I would say, yeah, leave them outside then for an hour to 2 hours. Or whenever you want to let them back in, if you're willing to if you're in the right mind frame to work on it and continue working on it, you can do that. But for the most part, you need the break, and they also need the mental break to latently work things out in their mind and kind of self-reflect on what they just experienced, which is the most important part of latent learning anyway. So that's kind of what a behavioral loop is.
Get back.
Now, I don't want you guys to misunderstand what I'm saying, because for some of you, you're going to say, oh man, that really sucks. I mean, I don't want to shun my puppy all its life. I want to love my puppy. I want my puppy on my lap. I want my puppy on the couch with me. I want my puppy to come to the bed. If I want kisses from my puppy, I want that. And that's great, because that's exactly what I want you to do. That's building a bond. And you can do that 80 times every day if you want to. That's part of the program. I'm just going to ask you a favor. When you do that, please say, come over here. Because you raise value with your space if you say, come over here.
Come over here.
Oh, this is going to be ready like an hour and a half.
Now, what will often happen is you might say, come over here, and your puppy's going to go, no. Or pretend that they didn't hear you. And you have to be okay with that. You wait 3 seconds and you say, come over here, once again. And they may look up at you or pretend they didn't hear you. But whatever you do, don't repeat it a third time, okay? You have to allow them the choice. If they don't want to come to you, they don't want to come to you, okay? That is their choice, as it should be anybody's choice. But just remember that if they want to go into your space whenever they want to, get back.
Get back. Get back. Get back.
It will raise your value.